Hi, hello, South Africa. Bongani. I just want to refer to the issue of the Freedom Charter and the last signatory of the charter to pass away. I think his name is Leon Levi or Levy, all right, which is a Jewish surname. And then I've never taken much interest in the Freedom Charter, and I've got no idea why, because I've always lived in the Freedom Charter area because we've always bought groceries at Cliptown. I grew up going to Bioscope at Cliptown, at Sansuzi, because I was born when my parents were staying in Snawane, and then we lived in Chiawelo. And then our relatives were always in Dlamini. So Cliptown has always been part of my life. But I've never taken interest in the story of the Freedom Charter. I just knew there's a component in that which basically doesn't sound correct, which says South Africa belongs to everybody who lives in it. That cannot be correct. And then I also knew all along that there are black people who opposed the Freedom Charter, thus Robert Sobukwe. And then it is notable that they died. And then for all our upbringing, we were made to believe that people like Robert Sobukwe were killed by apartheid Boere. And then we also noted that, as we continued with this life and I grew in my understanding, I also noted that Steve Biko died after a fallout with white liberals. Say, okay, maybe 10 years after the fallout, but he had identified white liberals as their enemy. All right. Or rather, the hiding enemy, because we were being made to focus on the Boere and ignore the other guys. So suddenly everything became like the sins of the Boere. And then suddenly our freedom fighters of the ANC forgot about the earlier enemies before the Boere, the colonialists. How? Everything got blamed on the Boere, but when you look at the history, a number of things that they blame apartheid Boere for were already happening before 1948. For instance, when they removed blacks from Johannesburg, it was not during apartheid. It was during English colonialism. When they destroyed Amawasha, that was not apartheid time, it was during colonialism. So these are things which made me have question marks. Also question marks as to why the Mandelas didn't get killed, but the Steve Bikos got killed. And I started noticing a pattern there that people who emphasized black consciousness died or got vilified. I know it's going to be controversial to actually bring into the line of Steve Biko and Robert Sobukwe to bring in the IFP I used to belong to, but let's put aside accusations which may have had merit against Buthelezi and them, and basically just look at what the IFP basically stood for the general membership of the IFP. If we just don't get involved in the issues of leadership that we don't know what they were busy with behind our backs, but what I'm saying is IFP was still also black consciousness, and then with the greater emphasis on Zulu nationality, but also the nationality of all black South African nations who were interested in preserving their nations. So it's only the Zulu people who seemed keen to preserve their nations and join the IFP, because nobody wanted to preserve their nations could join the ANC really. So those other nations were just bluffing. You couldn't defend your nation by being ANC, come on. So anyway, the Zulu joined them. And then it seems the same people who hated Steve Biko and hated the IFP too, and vilified them and promoted the Mandela ones and the ANC. So I'm going to say this one, this thing just now. I'm saying the ANC was never about black South Africans. The ANC was about the deception of black South Africans for the propagation of the New World Order ideals that we overlooked in the struggle. There were many wars which were being fought in South Africa, parallel wars. There were wars against apartheid, but there were wars against apartheid not for the empowerment of black South Africans and redress, but for the propagation of the New World Order agenda. You see those meetings they refer to, you see this is a subject I try to avoid all my life. But when they're speaking about Bretton Woods conferences and them, those things happened in the late 40s or mid 40s, early 1950s. So there was already a plan to do the New World Order. So it seems what apartheid did was to delay the plan, if we look at it from the South African perspective. So these whites and Jews who are fighting alongside the ANC, they're not fighting for black South Africans, they're fighting for their order. Now help me to understand, why would a signatory of land issues of South Africa be Jewish? And why would be the person who wrote the handwritten Freedom Charter, why is she Jewish? Why so many Jewish people? Before I get accused of hating Jewish people, I, Bongani Wilbert Mia, have a history of standing with Jewish people, and even now I say Israel belongs to Jews. All of it, all the land of Canaan. That's where I stand. But to deny certain things that maybe in the past I used to deny, not anymore. Yes, Jewish people are controlling the world together with white people. That much I can no longer dispute. I saw what the DA did, and the DA is ruled or is owned by Jews. So is the ANC. It has got a lot of Jewish support. So I don't want to go to controversies on that side, but yes, the Ramaphosa guys and them are supported by Jews. So now, what happened here in South Africa? Here's what I'm going to propose for us all. From the moment the South African National Natives Congress was hijacked and made to be the African National Congress, the Jews and the white socialists and the white liberal socialists had already taken over via the Xhosa, through the Methodist Church and the Anglican Church. So the departure of Zulu Kings from this new ANC of 1923, which is no longer aligned with what we had as a vision, was correct, because the ANC was against black indigenous South Africans exactly from intense as in 1923. Okay, the Xhosa factor, as you can see even here, it's Xhosa women who are fighting for foreigners. So let's leave it at that. I'm not going to delve into that, hence the Mandelas and them. So, okay, let's leave it at that. and then say, okay, the Xhosa people enabled the East European Jews and also the other Jews and the white liberals and the white socialists of the UK and France to basically fund them into changing the SANC agenda towards the ANC. So that's stage one, or maybe there's an earlier stage. So the ANC was already hijacked in 1923 for globalist New World Order interests. Then the conferences, and then this Freedom Charter, everybody knows it was not written by black South Africans. Black South Africans were not represented there. Oh, please give us a break. The ANC sent people to villages and even areas to basically consult. Oh, really? We are not dummies. Anyway, so if you are sitting and discussing the issue of land, it's not a conversation which was going to be led by the ANC or Jews or whites. It's a conversation which was going to be led by black South African kings. So the absence of kings in this Freedom Charter nonsense of yours is a crystal clear message that this was fraud and had nothing to do with black South Africans, especially back then where most of us were submitting to our kings. Really? You're discussing land issues in South Africa and there are no kings. You send people to consult in villages. Oh, really? In the land of kings, you send people to consult in villages. ANC. No, that was fraud. We were told it's fraud in the Freedom Charter. So that was, let's say, fraud number 2. And then the next fraud was the bringing of the UDF ANC to be forced down our throats as black South Africans in 1985. That was fraud again by the same powers. Okay. The next fraud was the 1994 fake CODESA talks, whereas the same people who wrote the Freedom Charter, Europeans, as in that team which started the French Revolution, the same team, which is a combination, when they say in conspiracy theories, they say it's the combo of the Jews and the whites. Yeah, I believe it's the same combo which wrote the Freedom Charter, all these New World Order globalist things. And therefore it is the same team which brought the constitution, which is not South African, but running our country for their interests, which they gave to Cyril Ramaphosa and Ruth Meyer. Even there, the Zulu Kingdom realized that this is a war against indigenous black South Africans. We can argue on this one, but some Zulus try to fight against this evil, whilst the ANC dummy Zulus endorse it. So Zulus died at Shell House, trying to block this evil, and then the IFP tried not to enter elections to prevent this evil. But I guess the Jewish friends of Mangosuthu Buthelezi advised him otherwise, and then on the last minute, the IFP entered those fraudulent elections with a fraudulent constitution which has ruined black South Africans. It was never about black South Africans. It was always about the DA's agenda of the New World Order, which Helen Suzman Foundation defends, and all these foreign NGOs defends. That's the open borders, the purging of black South African nations, the major target being the Zulu nation. It was always the agenda. We never got freedom in 1994 at all. Instead, our country moved from Boere back to colonialists. That's what happened. Thank you. And these colonialists were now of the New World Order agenda, which the DA is, and their DP friends in the US, and their Labour Party in the UK, Australia and them, the European Union, and all that trash back to the United Nations of Satan. That's the New World Order. We shouldn't be there as the Zulu Nation. We shouldn't be there as the Daniel 7 nations at all. Okay, well, thank you. So that's all. That's all that happened.